future trends, deep insights, industry leaders. This is the iGaming Next podcast with your host, Pierre Lindh.
This podcast is brought to you by Pragmatic Solutions, the leading iGaming PAM platform with a modular approach, including many benefits like a fast, secure, and scalable API-based platform, integrated with all major third-party products and services. Make sure you head over to Pragmatic Solutions and join our smart thinking.
And bingo, bango, bongo. Good morning, and good afternoon, Robin, to you. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Pierre. I am feeling jealous looking at you over in the US, and it seems like God had gifted you a better anatomy than me, because your AirPods look quite good in your ears, while mine sticking out like some sort of robot alien here. But otherwise, I'm good. Business is booming. Everything is great.
That's fantastic to hear, Robin. Yes, I am here at ground zero, if you will, in Central California, reporting from the upcoming Prop 27, Prop 28 election here that is taking place. But I can tell you that it's quite calm here in California. The ads have actually stopped more or less for these two propositions that is going to be voted on here in about a month's time, whether to legalize online sports betting or not in the state of California. Yes. But it's not looking that great this time around. But that is not the topic that we're talking about today. However, there has been some interesting movements on the Twitch side of things here, where about a month ago, Twitch released a statement that they would limit the streaming from certain operators, certain kind of what they call unregulated operators, including operators like Stake.com specifically, Rollbit, Roobet, and others as well. But Robin, I would like to pass the ball over to you a bit. If you can explain the kind of history of casino streaming at Twitch, what has led to this point where Twitch is now seemingly taking action against certain operators. Why had this happened? Is all casino streaming now illegal on Twitch, or what happens now? Can you just take us through the journey a bit?
Yeah, look, this is big news. I'm following the streamer space avidly. Happyhour is invested into two portfolio companies which does streaming as the core of their business. One being sort of a Twitch-based affiliated company, and another being a platform that serves streams to operators. So we're incredibly interested in this topic, and I followed it closely. Obviously, streaming on Twitch goes back to 2015, 2016, when the first streamers started emerging. The first players that came around were sort of genuine players that just broadcasted their sessions on Twitch, and some of them grew large, and then sort of more professional affiliated streamers started emerging. Now, over the last few years, it has been a massive boom. I will take us through some data afterwards. But at one point, I believe slots were close to the top 10 categories of the most streamed content on Twitch. So it's obviously become huge. And this has been incredibly impactful for our industry. We've seen new brands come up based on marketing through Twitch, who has grown into the tens, if not north of 100 million in monthly GGR, whereas Twitch have contributed greatly. It has changed the nature of sort of the value chain, and that game providers that has been popular on Twitch and amongst the streamers on Twitch has seen rapid growth. The likes of No Limit City, Pragmatic Play, Hacksaw Gaming, and so forth. Obviously, the streamers' followers have habituated towards that content, so it has changed the industry on the supplier side as well. Now, what has happened recently, if you go back to last year, and Twitch came with the first sort of policy update where they told streamers that you could not have direct links to casinos on Twitch. many expected more to happen afterwards, and it did. And the change that happened a few weeks ago when the announcement initially came that they would ban certain sites and remote licensed operators in general was sparked by one of the famous influencers on Twitch who came down with a gambling problem, which sort of sparked a movement amongst influencer peers of that individual. And they started lobbying Twitch to do something against the nature of the content that was served on Twitch. And then Twitch eventually came down now with a policy update where they have announced that certain websites would be banned. So you're not allowed to stream those websites on Twitch. And if you do, it will have repercussions on the channels, such as warnings, and eventually, potentially, you will lose your channel. But they've also informed the community that they will accept locally licensed websites. So they're clearly trying to sort of take a stance where they're trying to move the content over to the regulated market. So that's the background.
Absolutely, and it's not really exactly clear today, right? Which like the definition of what Twitch define as a regulated or unregulated website, or which type of operators will go on this kind of blacklist. Yet it's not really clearly defined. It's more guessing game, so to say. Right now, there's a couple of sites that are on the blacklist today, but we are expected to add more sites moving forward. In your opinion, what do you think will be the operators that will be allowed going forward, and who will be on this blacklist?
Yeah, so contextualize a bit again. I'm going to go into a short presentation, and for those who is following this via audio and not video, I will try to ensure that I read out the content and the numbers loud. But the first slide I have in front of me is showing Twitch casino KPIs from 2021 to 22. And what we can see is that numbers such as average viewers have increased from 30,000 to 52,000. Max viewers, so the simultaneous viewers interested in the category, had grown from 220,000 to 280,000. That is despite sort of the average amount of channels being 146 and 144. The amount of Twitch video hours we have consumed in 2021 was about 283 million, but only till September 2022 we had consumed 346 million. And we're broadcasting, so streamers are broadcasting nearly twice the amount of video hours to Twitch per year, or this year. Now, let's think a little bit about the health and the competition on Twitch and sort of what is behind that growth. So the growth was enabled by remote licensed crypto casinos, so the likes of Stake, Duelbit, Roobet, and so forth. Now, why is this enabling the growth? It's because they've been remote licensed, meaning they've been licensed in Curacao, and they have had crypto deposit options available, meaning that they can cater to a worldwide audience. That is in opposition to the licensed casinos, who might be licensed only in a single market or a few markets or a handful of markets. What that means is that the famous influencer, which might have a following of millions, suddenly can reach his entire audience with one of these remote licensed sites. While if the same streamer would stream a locally licensed site, say FanDuel in the United States, he would only reach the US audience. So the economics in this obviously means that the conversion would be much higher promoting a remote licensed casino. Now, another advantage of remote licenses is that they impose small to zero restrictions or sanctions on marketing. Now, what that has led to is that in order to enhance the virality of the actual streams, then the streamers have started playing for fake money. So you have seen bets in the tens of thousands of euros, or if not hundreds of thousands of euros, and subsequently larger wins, which makes for great entertainment, which attracts a wider audience to the streams. But that has further enhanced sort of the competitive unfair advantage of the remote licensed casinos and the streamers promoting those over those who is going with locally licensed casinos, which has obviously stronger rules and regulations and less market reach. Now, the result you have is this, which happened on the 17th of this month, the day before, basically Twitch took down the streams. And what I see in front of me now is an image of the famous great streamer Rothstein and the pop artist Drake, which had a stream together recently. I guess sort of the last hit they could stream. Now, finally, I want to show a graph, and obviously the audio listeners can't see this, but it shows what has happened on Twitch over the last week. And essentially what it shows is that the traffic towards slot content has plummeted since the 18th of October. We've gone from sort of an average viewership of, 40, 50,000, north of 100,000 the day Drake and Rothstein streamed together, and we're now down to some 10,000 streamers, viewers per in total for the streams over the last couple of days. Now, it's funny to see what has happened, because the next slide I'm showing is just a screenshot of the lobby. And to your question, sort of what will happen, if you go into Twitch right now, like every single channel has MGA casinos only, MGA licensed only, plus 18 MGA licensed. So the streamers have quickly acted. And my final sort of slide is I want to talk a little bit about the opportunity here, because if you look at the 4 casinos, Stake, Rollbet, Julebit, and Rubet, who has now been listed in the policy, and obviously more casinos are to come here, then I don't know the figures, but I've heard gossips going that these casinos have a combined GTR of 200 to 250 million per month. So that's their revenues per month. Now, how much of the acquisition was led by sort of Twitch and YouTube and streams in general, nobody knows, and we can only guesstimate. But maybe some sort of fair assessment has been 20 to 50%, maybe. Now, with these guys gone, obviously the users will still play with them, but we now have a whole different playing field. We are now eager to see whether sort of the tier 1 companies in the locally regulated markets, be it the Entaints in Europe, be it the BetMGMs, FanDuel, DraftKings in the US, whether they will now capitalize on the opportunity, and whether Drake will start streaming for them instead going forward. And that would be interesting to see.
Yeah, as you mentioned, if Rothstein, for example, or if Drake would move over to stream for an operator like FanDuel, not only are they limited to the US, but they are limited to the 4 or 5 states within the US that are currently legal for online gambling. So it's not only ring-fenced to one country, so to say, it's ring-fenced to a small portion of states within that country. So you would imagine that the proposition that an organization like FanDuel would be able to put forth to someone like Drake would be quite a lot more limited than a crypto casino like Stake.com. There's a lot of figures that have been flying around of what Drake has been paid to sign this sponsorship with Stake.com, but the number that I heard is around the 100 million USD mark. And I suppose just to kind of summarize the business model from Stake.com and how they work with the streamers as well. You have other streamers like Classy Beef, Rothstein, Drake. Obviously, as far as I understand it, what the business model is that Stake pays these streamers a set amount of money per month, and the requirement is that they need to do X amount of turnover on this money while streaming in order to then be able to withdraw that money eventually. It's kind of like a deposit bonus in a way, and it makes a lot of sense, because the rumor is, for example, the streamer Classy Beef. What I've heard is that they were paid about €1 million per month. That they needed to turn over X amount of times. And obviously the cost to Stake is not $1 million per month, considering that it needs to be turned over this many times. But actually the cost is perhaps a tenth of that, or something along those lines. And that makes the business model quite clever, actually, just to push that in. But also, since the 18th of October, the streamers that were active on Stake.com, as far as I have seen so far, none of them has been active, and that could explain why you mentioned the lower traffic in the last couple of days. Is perhaps because neither Rothstein nor Classy Beef and some of the other Stake streamers have made a single stream, and they haven't even made an announcement so far yet either what's going to happen now. Robin, what do you think? I don't know if you have heard anything from the traditional stake.com streamers and the other crypto casino streamers. What do you think their plan is from here? Like guys like Rothstein, for example, Classy Beef, others. What do they do from here?
Well, at least I saw Trainwreck TV, which is one of the absolute largest streamers, playing Overwatch 2 the day after. So obviously it had an effect. And now it's hard to know exactly what will happen without having the information directly from them. But I obviously heard some things with the grapevine. And the rumor is that some of these streamers will go together and start their own sort of Twitch type community where they will stream casino and get players onto there, which could be very interesting. Let's see what they come up with.
Yeah, absolutely. I heard as well there is another platform that is kind of like the 8chan of Twitch, if you will. I think it's called like D-Live or something. I can't remember exactly. It's like it's very much like a much more lax streaming platform that kind of lacks regulation in the same way kind of 8chan lacked the regulation on the forum sites, where D-Live is known for kind of white supremacists and very controversial, edgy type of streamers. And some of the stake.com streamers have actually moved to that platform for now. And if you go to that platform, you'll see that the casino streaming category is by far the biggest one at the moment. But this is what I hear as well in general. What you mentioned is that we'll see a new type of platform. The question is, with the liquidity of Twitch, how do you even try to compete against that? Right, it's a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah, and Twitch is growing as well. And you mentioned sort of the business model earlier, and if you look at the average acquisition cost that some of these companies must have had and the money that the streamers have been making, obviously it's known that over the last year it has been really expensive to buy the top streamers, and there has been exclusivity agreements and these kind of mechanics out there. But if you had the total number of FTDs and NGR that they had produced over the last 6-7 years, and the marketing cost that has been paid, then it has obviously been a incredibly good marketing channel. And I would be surprised if the marketing delta was higher than 10-20% at max, and over the combined period. And the reason for that is obviously that you reach the wider community in Twitch, which is big in the countries in which typically these type of operators serves predominantly. Now, there is obviously a large following in Asia as well, and perhaps that's what we will see next, that some of these companies will be much more active down in Asia, and that they will hire and educate and build streamers in those countries, and perhaps that will go. But nevertheless, it still changes the model for the West with plenty of opportunity, because the streamers obviously have Discord communities, they have Telegram groups, they will be able to move with them a whole lot of followers. But over time, if they're not able to access the YouTube and sort of Twitch liquidity pool, now YouTube haven't made any announcements yet, as far as I know, then I think it will be hard for them to maintain the audience that they've had.
Right. Eventually, it will churn over time. They won't be able to acquire the new demographic.
Yes, and ultimately, we've talked about earlier in sort of this podcast, sort of the challenges you face with market access and distribution versus the audiences and so forth. But ultimately, any good operator right now would see its opportunity and would be present in those channels. So it means that the need would be catered to by someone else, and they are regulated. They have access to big ambassadors already. If you look at the tier ones in the US and you look at sort of the roster of ambassadors they have that they potentially can deploy in these channels, then obviously that would be intriguing for the users.
Right. I mean, another interesting thing that I noticed during iGaming Next Valletta about a month ago is this was just a week or two after the announcement from Twitch that they would limit certain casino streamings, is that operators were looking at potentially bringing streaming into their platforms. And I saw some of the crypto casinos were at the conference and kind of keeping their eyes open. And I asked the question to some of them, and they were looking at potentially bringing streaming into directly into their own operations. Obviously, Robin, you are front and center in this development with one of your portfolio companies, which is Livespins, which is trying to offer this, which is to offer operators a chance to bring live streams right into the front end directly to the users, where they can kind of back the streamers play as well. Is this kind of the next generation, or is this the trend that we'll see now as well, which is more operators taking direct action and into their own hands, so to say, and trying to bring this liquidity into directly into their own customers?
Well, judging from the appetite we see for the product, the answer is a definitive yes. We're in contract negotiations with all the tier ones in the US now, and I think some 11 major platform distribution partners coming onto the website at the moment. We already have launched license partnerships so that the streamers can play the content, the IP of game providers. With some 14 studios now, we're in dialogue with the tier ones there as well, and there's a massive appetite for this product. What we are doing is that we're putting the stream right at the operator's website, so that the players can form a community inside the operator's website where streamers can go live, and players can join in on chat rooms and not only talk with each other and follow the streamer, but they can also bet behind the streamer. So if you, Pierre, went live and you were betting 10 euros on the slot, and me, poor Robin, only had €1 to bet, then I could still place my €1 bet and bet behind you, and I would share the same wins or losses in terms of multipliers as you do. So like that, we can create a collective betting experience where people win and lose together, and sort of make memorable moments more memorable. Now, the advantage in that is that, and why I think this product definitely needs to be controlled by the gaming industry, is that nobody knows better how to deal with underage gambling, responsible gambling, all of the problems, the social harm that can come with gambling than the gambling industry themselves. We have internal control systems, we have KYC checks, we have responsible gambling teams, fraud teams, and so forth that are protecting the players. So by hosting the various streams ourselves, by hosting the offers, we can also control that part of the experience. There is no underage people visiting a BetMGM or a DraftKings, whilst there is people on Twitch. So I think at the core of this experience, we need to control it ourselves, and we need to package it and serve it in a way where it's socially responsible and regulated, and that's the way forward. And there's a great appetite for that in the industry.
Can you give us a little bit more insight on the product so far? I mean, you as far as I know, you're live, obviously, with your own portfolio operator. Are you live with more brands currently? Like, what has been the feedback so far from your customers and from the players?
Yes, so the very project was sort of hatched in the sofa in my home between myself and a few other guys. I think the person that should be credited the ID, his name is Clayton Tonna. I just sort of followed up on his imagination and helped sort of execute and package it to an ID, and then later on we unveiled a prototype at iGaming Next. Then there had been great help for people like Chris Cicluna and Chris Demicoli and other people building out the product. Back then we only had a prototype, and we didn't know what a long sort of road we had ahead of us. We need to build our own wallet so that the streamers could log in and play there. We needed to aggregate all the game providers, so essentially building out the whole platform. We needed to build the actual video delivery and the front end and so forth. So it was a lot of work. But in April 2022, we launched it at the First Brand, which is a company we had invested into as sort of a guinea pig. And then we saw great uptake, and it kept growing and growing in the months passing. We sorted out all the teething issues, and now in September we launched the 3 additional website, whereas one was the first external client, so that we can sort of trial those processes as well. And we're finally at a point now where we can just mass sell it. And we have so many brands now signed and in the pipeline and going live. And I'm so looking forward to hit critical mass, because obviously, casino is a high value, low volume type of business. It's not the Facebook, where you have hundreds of millions of users. On casinos might be 100, 200 users concurrently. So there is a limit to how, in a small to medium-sized casinos, there is a limit to how many people you can get into a chat and a community product like this. But the advantage is that it is a shared stream going out to all the operators. Now we can pool the liquidity from the pipeline we have, and soon you will see, I hope, hundreds of people betting behind simultaneously and thousands of people viewing in the chat, and then we'll create some really good moments.
Going back to the question of building a community, maintaining it, and acquiring, constantly refining and acquiring a new followership. Just forgive my ignorance here. I don't know the product too well, but the stream itself, is it ring fenced within the partner operators, or will the streamer also in parallel be able to stream towards Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and so on?
Absolutely. So we can stream out to essentially any streaming platform out there. It's a potential marketing monster. We're also, if you look at some of the advantages of serving it like this, if you look at slots, it's a quite desolated and mundane experience that sort of the technology is still in the Stone Age compared to modern consumer trends and behaviors, I think. Like the fact, imagine if you went into YouTube and you had to wait like 5 to 15 seconds every time you wanted to check out the video to load it before you saw the actual content. That's what's happening right now inside operators' websites. You have to download Flash or HTML5 files to your local computer. It takes 5 to 10 seconds to open. If you don't like the slots, you have to wait again for the next one. As soon as you turn a slot into a live video, it opens in a millisecond, and you are right in there with the action, which lends itself great to mobile devices. So that's the first advantage I think there is with the product. The second advantage is obviously in the distribution of this is a potential marketing powerhouse, because all of the content is served as a video, meaning that it can all be recorded. So today, if you want to replay big wins, if you want to create marketing content out of the slots, each and every game studio supplies a different format of replays. Some doesn't even have it. There is no sort of uniform way to turn that content into a TikTok friendly format, into an Instagram stories friendly format, and so forth. But with this video here, we have done that. So we record absolutely every session and all the content and every moment happening, and we package it in a way where operators and players easily can distribute it to their communities. Now, the streams in itself, to answer your question, we have generic streams, just like you go on to Crazy Time today, and there would be, 2,000, 3,000 players live right now playing it across many different operators. It works the same way, but we also serve people with dedicated streams if they're interested in that. And we also have what's called ambassador streams. So we can take your influencers, your affiliated streamers, and so forth, and put them exclusively only on your website.
Is it still up to the streamers to create their own communities, their own Discord servers, Telegram chats, and so on and so forth? Or is there also an opportunity for you to kind of alleviate that community building by almost creating your own Twitch platform, so to say, where we can watch replays and streams without having to deposit money, to say?
So what we've done, so we believe in the gig economy, the elance.com, the fiverr.com, the Uber, that everybody should be able to act as a contractor and decide on their own workday. So what we've done is that we created a system where people can stream from home. We send them the equipment they need, we train them, we educate them, there is a license code of conduct and so forth. Now, but with that, you can start streaming with us. And then we disclose to the users that these people are educators and entertainers, that they don't play for their own money, because we want to be honest with the community, that they're there to stimulate the community. And they very much follow the community. So the community would sort of suggest which slots they're going to play, what to do in bonus rounds, and so forth. But then we also have the model where we can enable real money play. Obviously, there is regulation to consider here, but operators can allow players or affiliated streamers and so forth to play with real money. And we obviously take care of community building. We help with a lot of those aspects. We can also leave it up to the streamer or the user or the operator if they want to use the product in that way.
Brilliant. Just to move back to the issue here of the statement from Twitch. There's been a rumor that the reason why this is happening now and not earlier or not at all, say, is that Twitch is owned by Amazon, and Amazon obviously operates AWS, and AWS wants to run the servers from the entire iGaming industry and online sports betting industry in the US, and kind of in order to flirt with potential customers, Twitch is now taking action against the unregulated environment in order for AWS to get on kind of competitive advantage. Do you think there is some truth to the fact that Amazon is involved in a decision like this from Twitch?
You know what happens in the inner corridors of Amazon, my knowledge is limited to a few fly on the wall type books I've read about them. But if we were to speculate, if you see sort of the announcements that has come from Twitch, sorry to use the word, but it looks a little bit like cover my ass type policies. To me, it looks like what has happened is that there has been complaints, there has been strong voices in the Twitch community. And if you are running a community today in 2022 and you don't understand that you need to listen to your users, you need to take them very seriously, or else they can leave incredibly quick, then you have nothing to do in the community business. And perhaps they saw what was happening and listened to some of their main power users on the platform, the influencers, and decided they had to do something and drafted up something quickly. I believe in that more than some sort of conspiracy around their servers and their hosting.
All right, fair enough. It's always fun to speculate. But on the topic of speculation, do you think, Robin, is there a chance eventually that Twitch will outright ban the slot category?
I don't think so, because why would they? So on one hand, I understand the large sort of underage population on Twitch, and that is something that they, as well as the streamers and the operators marketing there, has to take very seriously, very, very seriously. And let me just emphasize that, because we don't want to be in an industry where we're targeting minors, period. No matter how successful you are as a casino and streamer or whatnot, just go to bed knowing that that's not your business. So let's call out for that to be taken very seriously. But if they manage to deal with that, I don't see a reason for why they shouldn't allow casino to be streamed in a user-generated community. We all go and see movies like Casino. It's a strong cultural phenomenon. And why shouldn't it be allowed inside a user-generated portal like Twitch and YouTube for that sake? I don't see any reason for that, but I think they just need to govern it well.
Yeah, and maybe also to take the context of Twitch, if we take a helicopter view over Twitch and kind of zoom out from the slot category specifically, Twitch is a very controversial platform for many reasons. The question of moderation at Twitch is always front and center. There's a lot of cases, overwhelming amount of cases of kind of cyberbullying taking place on Twitch, where certain streamers and their following will kind of bully certain other streamers and their followers. But on top of that as well, a lot of streamers, they are kind of balancing what constitutes porn and what constitutes just kind of normal, the kind of chatting, and the streamers are constantly pushing the limits of what is acceptable and what is not on Twitch. And if you dive into Twitch and some of the kind of more controversial streams, they are very much out there. And if you take it into the context of slot streaming slots is actually not the most controversial type of streams that you will see on Twitch. And so I would make the argument as well that banning slots would mean that you would have to ban a whole host
Absolutely.
of other streams as well. Yes.
Where do you draw the line, right? And how much are you going to sort of parent and police people? And as long as you sort of rule out the underage element, then I don't see a reason why you should do it. And fortune favors the brave. Okay, whether it's Twitch or whether there is all sorts of contexts and sociology that humans partake in, there will always be those who are willing to take the risk that others are not to achieve something. And I don't think, sort of, if you're Twitch, would you really ban slots? Because then you have the risk that somebody else will not, and then they will draw a large audience from that, because this is something people are interested in. People are playing slots, people are playing casino, people are interested in gambling, be it poker, be it sports betting. People have a need for information, people have a need for reliable idols. So if they take that stance, it's basically opening up for a competitor that is not to serve a more complete offer to people. So I don't think they will.
No, exactly. And it's a slippery slope, as you point out here. Banning slots means that you have to ban poker streams. It means you have to ban sports betting streams at the same time. And again, the question of other verticals, very questionable streams comes to play then as well. And I don't think it's a step that Twitch necessarily is prepared to take. Online moderation is like the most insanely most difficult decision to take. Where do you draw that line? Twitter, obviously, Facebook. This question is front and center. There just isn't a good way to moderate where you keep everyone happy, but you have to avoid these kind of slippery slopes to the fullest extent possible. And combining that with the fact of like the young online generation, which generally doesn't want moderation in the first place. They want to have kind of the freedom to see and do whatever they like. So it's not an easy decision for Twitch, but I agree with you as well. I don't think we will see an outright ban for the slots casino streaming either, but they have taken this decision now to draw the line in the sand, which kind of seems to be crypto casinos seems to be the line in the sand here.
I mean, the interesting aspect in the end is sort of the ability they have to actually enforce it. So when the ban on sort of direct links to casinos came a little over a year ago, then they were quite strict in the start. But since then, you've seen the return of streamers taking bigger and bigger risks in that regards, and less policing of it to some extent. And the question is, what will happen now? Is this limited to sort of a blacklist of a few operators that will be put on the site? How often will they update it? And how large risk will new sites take? Will it be allowed with MGA licensed casinos? Will it only be US licensed casinos? Or would you be fine also with a license from Spain? Sort of, there is so little context here, which leads me to believe this is a cover my ass type policy.
Yes.
Will they actually sit down and tackle the problem and put down a group and look at it and create a healthy environment? Or will they leave it with this? Because if they leave it with this, slowly you will start to see more traction amongst the remote licensed sites again.
Right, and it's so difficult as well to say that it's so difficult as well to come up with a policy that covers your ass completely. Like, say for example, take stake. The statement very much from Twitch says that it's unregulated casinos that is not being allowed, so to say, or these Curacao licensed businesses. But stake is licensed in the UK. Wouldn't stake be able to take advantage of the license in the UK and say that we want to be allowed to stream from kind of the UK stake.co.uk, for example?
Yeah, absolutely, and I wouldn't be surprised if in the future some of these sites comes back in a regulated form and with a large audience, and we'll be back on Twitch. PokerStars came back to the US as well after UEGA. It took a few years though.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Robin, really interesting to have the breakdown here today of Twitch, the controversy here and the streamers. And we are just in kind of day 3 of the enforcement of the new rules here. So there will be a lot more interesting news to follow up on this story. And we are still waiting for the major streamers to make their own announcements of what will happen next. Streamers like Rothstein, streamers like Classy Beef. I was checking out Classy Beef's Twitter just yesterday, and the last announcement that they made is that they are very excited to make their next big announcement. So something is definitely in the works, and you would imagine that other streamers like Rothstein and Drake, that they are just not going to sit around and wait here. Something is definitely brewing in the background, so we will definitely make sure to follow up on this.
I mean, you have to give the respect to these creators as well for what they've managed to create. It's huge followings, it's huge operators, it's huge websites, and there was clearly a market for it. So, I mean, these guys will certainly not rest on their laurels. I think they will come back with something also.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for donating your time here today, Robin. It's always a pleasure to have you on the podcast. I'll see you next time.
Likewise, Pierre. See you.